Why don't we get to AIPAC?
Yeah, so some extraordinary political moments on the Democratic side of the aisle where two big, potential 2028 contenders were asked specifically about AIPAC in particular, and with Cory Booker, support for Israel in general, and just completely crashed into the rocks for both of them. So let's start with Gavin Newsom here. He went on the podcast of a guy named Van Latham and gets asked about AIPAC, and his answer is pretty unbelievable. Let's take a look.
I will not vote for a candidate that takes $1 from AIPAC.
It's interesting. It's interesting. I haven't thought about AIPAC. And it's interesting. You're like the first to bring up AIPAC in years, which is interesting. Why did I say that? Not relevant to my day-to-day life.
Okay.
Which is just interesting.
Listen.
It's interesting you say that. JPAC perhaps more, but AIPAC less and less.
Okay. Fair enough.
Which is just interesting.
What's interesting about it?
That it's just interesting as you bring up AIPAC that it hasn't been part of, I'm just reflecting quite openly and honestly, hasn't been part of the day-to-day.
If you're just listening to that, it's extraordinary, but if you watch it, it's even more because he's like wiggling and squirming in a seat like a little kid, keeps just repeating the word interesting, which Saagar, I think his initial, I think when he said it's interesting, his first instinct was to insinuate this is low-key anti-Semitic that you're asking me about AIPAC when I'm the governor of California. What do I care about? I haven't even thought about AIPAC. It was also giving a little bit, remember when David Pakman was like, is it pronounced, is it AIPAC? Is it AIPAC? I've never heard of this. It's like, dude, you are clearly setting yourself up for a run for president in 2020. You've wanted to be president your entire life. AIPAC is one of the biggest spenders in elections. And you want me to believe, I haven't even thought about that. I haven't thought about them in years. I have no idea. And you cannot bring yourself to just say, hey, you know what? A group that's in favor of a genocide, maybe I don't really want their support. He is such a donor creation that he just cannot say anything other than, this is interesting. It's interesting. Haven't thought about them. I don't know. Talk about brain melt in real time. It was wild to see.
I am extremely disappointed in Gavin. And I take it personally. I trusted his political judgment much more than that, to be honest. I mean, I thought he's done quite well in general with the social media campaign.
Yeah.
In general, standing up for Trump. I'm talking about purely in a lens of Democratic politics. He's a smooth talker. He seemed to me like a coalitional manager. That just is a sheer sell in terms of political talent, because it's like, dude, you're either pretending and you're not doing a very good job of it, or you're actually unaware of AIPAC and the controversy that's online. Both of those are frankly disqualifying in terms of just sheer political talent. I could give you a better answer from a Democratic perspective right now, which is kind of what Cory Booker tried to do, which we'll get to in a little bit, which is I don't take corporate PAC money and I don't want anybody's money who's trying to push a particular agenda. Next question, right? And that's it. That's all it takes. But instead, getting
Gavin
so
Newsom does want to take corporate PAC money. I mean, that's the problem.
I know, but I mean, there's, as you know, when Slotkin was here, and she's like, well, I don't take money. It's like, well, you took money from their bundler, so you did kind of take money. But there's a way to rhetorically figure your way out of it. And look, no disrespect to Van. By the way, I did talk to him. I am a huge fan of the Rewatchables and the Ringer guys over there. And so it's great to have his support. He apparently watches the show quite a bit, which is very cool. But my point, just more broadly, is that for him, Van, for example, coming in this being like, I won't take money from someone with AIPAC. I don't think it's that hard to square. Like, it's just one of those where you're right. I don't want special interest support. If you're and I would say that about anybody. And then I would go into a tangent about some big business area, which he's comfortable with, right? And then just go in that direction.
You know what would be a good pivot to try to pull off? And if you have a dogged interviewer, there's no good answer for him, right? But, if you wanted to try to pull off a pivot, you would say something like, I'm really concerned about money in politics in general.
Perfect.
The influence of all sorts of, whether it's, AIPAC or JPAC or the corporate lobby or, big pharma. I am so concerned about the way our democracy has been taken over by big money. Supreme Court decision coming up. Trump is bad. Next question, right? Mm-hmm. And like I said, if you have a dogged interviewer, they're obviously going to press you. Okay, but what about AIPAC specifically? Have you taken money from them? Will you take money from them in the future? And then he just has to make a choice. Like, are you going to say no and be aligned with where the base is at this point? And where, not just the base, by the way, this has become a very like mainstream concern with AIPAC as a catch-all for the incredible influence of Israel on our politics. So are you going to align yourself with them, or are you going to keep on the table the possibility of getting AIPAC's millions of dollars? And you just are going to have to make that decision. When you look really terrible is when you're very obviously trying to have it both ways. With Gavin, you know, so much of his political career and his success owes not just, look, he does have political skill and talent, there's no denying that, but also his ability to raise vast amounts of money from, in particular, the California big Democratic donor class. That's primarily Silicon Valley. It's also Hollywood. You know, even putting AIPAC aside, there are many people in both of those donor worlds who are very interested in, you know, who are committed Zionists, who are going to want to hear you say the right things on that issue from their perspective. So he's not just thinking about, okay, am I going to lose AIPAC support and have them back some other candidate who's in the race, but am I also going to piss off a bunch of people that I'm friends with, that I've relied on for support, who've given me millions and millions of dollars over the course of my career? And that's why his brain just sort of melts and he can't say anything. Now, I am shocked. I am a little surprised that his answer was this bad.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Because he went on with this, this like gamer streamer, I'm sorry, I forget his name, but in any case, I watched it and he got asked some questions about Israel and generally like 2-state, 1-state, what do you think? And he did fine. Like he clearly anticipated those questions would be there. Mm-hmm. He said things that were not gonna kill him politically. It was fine. And so it to me is such a sign of how incredibly out of touch these guys are with their own voters, with the base of their own party. They still think, because they look at the polling and it'll, you know, people will say this isn't their number one issue. They do not get the way that it is serving as a litmus test for character.
Right,
as
it's a
litmus
proxy
test for basic morality and character.
Also control. I think it's actually about control.
Absolutely.
Anything, independence, right? So I think that's,
absolutely.
For me, that's really what it's about.
Yeah.
It's like, bro, if you can't say that, you're just not independent. Like, it's like, you are not a original thing. I guess I should never have thought that from Gavin, and that's more my mistake. But I always thought that he had the ability, the political ability to chart a different direction. Another easy way to thread the needle is say, nobody controls me no matter what, right? You could just go off, talk about all the independent times you've bucked big money interests in California, which I mean, you probably can't find a ton of examples, but I'm sure he could come up with 5 or 6 or whatever off the top of his head. I did look up JPAC. It's like the Jewish Political Action Committee of California. So that's what he was referencing. But it's like, look, you know what AIPAC is. You also, a really talented political person. If I think back to Bill Clinton, one of his best moments in the 1992 presidential debates, you can go watch this on YouTube if you're interested, is a woman asked him about the national debt. But Clinton is smart. He's like, this lady doesn't care about the national debt. She's asking about the economy in general. She's just a voter. I'm not blaming her. So he takes it and he goes, you're concerned about the national debt? He starts ranting about trickle-down economics and people who lose their jobs to factories and everything. It was one of his best moments because you took the question, but you answered it in a way that got to the heart of what she was trying to say. And what Van, I think, is trying to say is, I'm not taking money. I don't want to. He's like, I will not vote for a person who, to me, appears controlled by the Israel lobby, because that, to me, is about independence. I'm outraged about what's happening in Gaza. I don't know why that is a very difficult needle to thread. And so the fact that Gavin is not either online, aware, or whatever enough, or that the lobby is so powerful he thinks that they're necessary for his election, it's honestly mystifying to me for any prevailing politician. I think even Buttigieg has given better answers about that. I'm not saying he's given a good answer.
He gave some really bad answers too.
Okay, but his first interview with Pod was a disaster.
Terrible.
But did you notice with Andrew Callahan, there wasn't a single viral clip that came out of that one? Like, I mean, look, maybe that's Andrew. Didn't, by his own admission, he didn't press him that hard or whatever on the Israel question, but he tightened it up enough to where it didn't go viral for a moment like this. Yeah. And I mean, look, Gavin is a talented guy, so I'm not going to count him out just yet. You know that it eats his soul that something like this does go viral. You never want to go viral for a bad answer. So maybe he'll come up with a better answer and he might be able to thread the needle. But the fact is that if you're most talented people in the party, you're stars, and this is where they're at, man, we got a lot of work to do. Yeah, like if you're in the echelon, like you got a lot of work to do.
Let me go ahead and play the Cory Booker with my girls, the ladies over at the I've Had It podcast, because part of the problem for these like, slimy career politicians is they want to like word salad, like rhetoric their way out of it. When people really just want a very simple yes or no, like, are you going to take money from AIPAC? Yes or no? Like, there's no rhetorical flourishing your way out of it. At the end of the day, you either are or you aren't. And so she asked Cory Booker, because you'll recall he did that photo op with Benjamin Netanyahu where he was like trying to hide behind people. Remember that picture that came out of it?
Yeah.
And so she asked him just flat out, okay, is he a war criminal or not? Let's take a listen to how Cory responds.
One of the things I dislike about the Democratic Party is that we do a circular firing squad all the time. Their party, they disagree. There's wild disagreements in the Republican tent, and yet they don't shoot at each other. And we have a really good way of holding up these purity tests that if I agree with you on 95...
That's such bullshit. That is such bullshit. They fire at each other all the time. Trump has sent so many people out to pasture, so many people that he calls rhinos. Liz Cheney can tell you that they have the firing squad as well. It's not a purity test. It's, are we in this fight and are we being beholden to corporations and corporate interests? Are we really the party of the working class?
I'm one of a handful of people that don't take corporate PAC money. I don't understand my Democratic
What
Party.
about AIPAC money? You take AIPAC money, don't you?
A minuscule percentage of my resources come from
I read it's like 800,000.
Yeah, but that's a lifetime number of raising tens of millions.
The Democratic base feels like there is a disconnect. We hear you, like when you did your 25-hour speech, I was like, go, Cory. I love this. That is amazing. And then there's a photo shoot with you with Benjamin Netanyahu. And I was just like, what in the actual fuck? Like, how can he do that? It was heartbreaking. I felt betrayed.
Yeah.
And that doesn't just happen in an echo chamber. Democrats like you, where the base, we should make each other better. It's not a purity test. We want credible messengers. Because when we are down the middle, beholden to corporate interests, we leave this vacuum, and that's how fascism has flourished. For myself and a lot of our listeners, when I saw the picture with Benjamin Netanyahu, I felt like it diminished your 25 hours. That's how it felt to me. Do you think he's a war criminal, Benjamin Netanyahu? Do you think he's a war criminal?
Again, these are questions that a lot of people think are the important litmus tests that are loaded and hot. My urgency is to be an effective leader in bringing an end to this crisis. And I get these questions all the time that to me undermine my urgency.
I think the thing that Democrats get so frustrated with, where we are right now, where you see like the Zoran Mamdanis and the Graham Plattners rise up, because they can go on podcasts and you can say, do you think Benjamin Netanyahu is a war criminal? And they just say, yes. And that's the end of it. It's not all of the rhetoric answering. It's like what happens to Democratic politicians, they go through this like prism, and then we can't ever get like the answer to yes or no conversations like you do with Bernie and others. And that's the frustration for the Democratic base with leadership. Do I think Netanyahu is worse than Trump?
Yes. Do I think that we right now in America should be doing everything possible to bring peace, not just to that crisis, but to the ones that shock me that no one talks about, and I hope, and I don't know if you guys have or not.
And I think what Jennifer hits on there with like, listen, our frustration, why can't you just say yes or no?
Right.
Like all of this, it's, trying to talk your way out of it or talk your way around it. Like it's a yes or no question. Is he a war criminal? And frankly, I'm actually a little surprised that he couldn't even say that, because what a lot of liberals do is they will try to do like, oh, Israel's great and amazing, there's no problems. It's just Netanyahu. Mm-hmm. He's the problem. And because at this point it's undeniable, like the war crimes, the horror, the genocide, all of that is like undeniable. So the best bet for a lot of liberal Zionists is now to say, yeah, but I really hate Netanyahu. Yes. And yeah, he's the real problem. So it is actually a little bit surprising that Cory Booker can't even do that.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, I found that extraordinary.
And
I think she was probably surprised by it too.
The whole thing is shocking. By the way, Cory Booker in 2022 sponsored a war crimes charges being brought against Putin, in case anybody's wondering. He knows what a war crime is. He also, look, if that's the liberal framework that you believe in, this is always what screwed the pro-Israel liberals, is because they're happy to call for regime change and Putin and Russia, war crimes. But with Israel, they're like, oh, it's complicated. The ICJ is so biased, right? That's what he's like.
Oh, he said that
out.
Yeah, he said the ICC singles out and
Israel.
then he also tried to do the whole like, well, why don't you care about these other conflicts?
Yeah.
Why don't you care about these other things? So he used all of the dodges.
Because we're not funding all of them, dude. It's an easy answer. This is just bullshit.
People just see right through it.
I'm not as surprised.
I'm so sick of, one of Tucker's best moments was when he called out Ted Cruz for insinuating he was an anti.
Yeah.
I am so sick of all of these like little passive aggressive ways of insinuating someone's an anti-Semite. Fucking come out and say it. You know what? If you think it's anti-Semitic that she cares about Israel, just fucking say it. Don't be such a weasel, such a worm. I'm so sick of that shit.
I agree. I couldn't agree with you more. I think, look, with Corey's not actually talented. That's my thing. And so I expect this from him. It's still Gavin I'm stuck on, where I'm like, dude, look, Corey is a discount Obama from the day he came to office. He's always been trying to do the affect. He's always trying to go viral for his veganism or whatever. It's cringe. He's been cringe from day one. He's obviously controlled by the big money guys in New Jersey. So this isn't all that shocking. I guess what's more shocking is why he agreed to go on the podcast and why he was so shocked, that he was getting pressed on Israel.
He's so
which it's like, how about you pay attention? But that's one thing that a lot of people underestimate is that these politicians, you don't get to this position from nothing. You are a egomaniacal narcissist to a degree that the average person has never interacted with. Like this type of personality profile is extremely rare, and they gravitate to Washington for a reason. So yeah, he has supreme confidence in his ability to school her or any of that. But I think what he is not able to deal with is it would almost respect him more if he'd be like, look, I'm pro-Israel for this, and this reason. And if you could articulate a case, it would be respectable. But for me, it's all of the split the difference stuff, which is just mealy mouth. It's weaselly. It just seems like you're trying to have it both ways. You see that with Gavin. You see it with Corey. It's just a sheer lack of political talent. And I think what these guys underestimate, to your point about the polls, no one says it's the number one issue, but it's a proxy for, are you independent, controlled? Are you going to say what you actually think? And if you can't say it, then get out of here. It reminds me, at the time, Trump 2016, radical Islamic terrorism. You remember this? And Hillary just wouldn't say it. It's like, why won't you say it? She just was like, I prefer radical jihadism. And everyone was like, yeah, it's like, for everybody else, for people who were concerned about it or anything, they're like, you seem more concerned with political correctness than you do about keeping us safe. That's why it was an issue, right? You can object to the term or whatever that intellectually, but politically, that's what it was about. This is like that on steroids, because this is an active hot war where you actively are taking money and you're actually participating in sending bombs to fund it. That is just, look, beyond even just morality, again, for most people, especially a lot of young people who are out there, I presume that's what Newsom wants. That's why he's, in his jeans and his shirt and all of that on the Higher Learning pod, is he's trying to reach these younger audiences. This is hot. Like, you just can't get away from it. Look, by the way, this is a right-left phenomenon. There's this TPUSA thing going on right now where Glenn Beck and Megyn Kelly and all these people are out there. Glenn Beck is torturing himself over Israel.
Yeah,
because every single event, they're like, okay, give Charlie his due. He was actually not much better at it. And part of the reason why he had the focus groups and he had much more workshopped answers. You could see all the text messages and things that have come out. What's he working through? He's like, I don't know how to deal with all of this stuff that's bubbling up on campuses. So you're seeing this happen at every level. And if you can't just say the truth, you're done, in my opinion. So, left liberals, you guys, you deserve everything that's coming to you. You deserve your Tea Party moment because you, again, not Corey, but Gavin, Pete, you were talented enough. You had the ability, but you tried to split the difference, and somebody's going to beat your ass who believes in a whole other type of stuff simply because they're just going to seem like they're real. That's
Cory Booker is particularly offensive to me, as you guys know, if you watch my monologue about him, because he postures like he's this civil rights hero, moral crusader.
Yeah.
And he wants to have basically the positions of John Fetterman on Israel and still wear the mask of some progressive humanitarian icon. And this is very binary. Like, the rubber has met the road. And you are either going to be a humanitarian who cares about innocent women and children getting murdered with our tax dollars, or you're not. and you are a complete fraud and a phony. And I think we all know what he is really going on there. I mean, this is a guy who bragged about like being text message besties with the head of AIPAC. Like, this is who he is. He was super, super close with Rabbi Shmuley for years and years and years. They did ultimately have a fallout over apparently like they were, I don't know, Shmuley ended up being too self-promotional even for Cory Booker, which is an extraordinary thing. You can go back and look at all the details of how that all went down. But, this is who he is. And a part of that is, this is going back. I don't know if you guys remember in the Obama 2012, Cory Booker came out and he was a spokesperson, like a major spokesperson for Obama's campaign, and was so upset about Obama going after private equity and said that publicly, and it was a whole thing. I mean, that's where his bread is buttered. Like, he represents New Jersey. He gets all his money from a bunch of finance guys, Wall Street, those types. There are a number of those donors who are also very interested in this issue, and he wants the AIPAC money, whatever. And so that's who he is. So I think this is going to this trend of liberals trying to posture like they're progressives, trying to posture like they're humanitarians, I think, and getting exposed is going to continue because in a certain sense, again, with a dogged enough interviewer, there is no good answer here. Now, he could have said on the war criminal thing, he could have said something like, well, he's indicted by the ICC. And, I believe in international law. And so I'm going to watch that process play out.
That's why they don't believe it.
But that's, you would have to do something like that. But I don't think that's going to be totally really satisfying to people at this point either. It's refreshing when you hear a Graham Plattner or Zoran Mamdani just be able to say, yes, he's a war criminal. Yes, he should be indicted. Yes, he should be in The Hague. Like, that is what people actually want to hear. And if you aren't prepared to say that, then just do the Fetterman. Just be John Fetterman.
I agree.
There's you are not going to make anyone happy with this attempted middle ground bullshit.
And you can actually split the difference too, because then you get the accusation of like, why are you obsessed with Israel? I actually think Zoran is the best of this. He did his interview yesterday with Fox News, and he's
so good.
Yeah, she kept pressing him, being like, should Hamas disarm? And he's like, I think New York City should have less cost. And it was like,
I don't have an opinion on Hamas. He's like, I do have an opinion on affordability.
Exactly. Yeah. I was like, wow. Again, look, I mean, I got a lot of beef with Zoran, Mr. Zoran, but I'm like, I respect talent where I see it, man. And like for that, why? Why is that even a refreshing answer to be able to see something like that from Cory, from Gavin, all these guys? I don't know. I just get the feeling, again, to the proxy of control. It's like, dude, if you're going to say that, that means you're never even going to wink in my direction to anything that I particularly care about. And this is for anybody. It's about being controlled. And that's part of the probably, if you look at some of the Gen Z, and some of the Gen Z, like disillusionment with Trump, in particular with men. Yeah. Israel's a huge part. Yeah, you're right. I mean, I don't think people are grappling with that. Like, from TikTok to the general feeling of like, I feel betrayed, because one of the reasons that a lot of Gen Z guys even supported Trump is like, he tells it like it is, right? I'm sick of these liberal, they seem like they're controlled by these big groups and all they care about is some woke bullshit, and Trump is offensive, but that's good because it means he's authentic. But then when you start, pulling the chair out for Bibi and rolling out the red carpet and giving them everything they want, that's the rubber meet the road issue. And they're like, yeah man, I'm sick of this, right? And so that's why I think this is such a potent thing. It's not number one. I never would claim that it is number one, but it's a gateway drug, if you will, to this person is independent. And yeah, I mean, right now, they're just giving it away to the Plattners and the Zorans and to everybody else. And I don't know. In a way, I don't feel bad for them at all. I'm like, you deserve everything that's coming to you. You deserve to get beat out in the election or lose a primary or look foolish on the internet, because this is a political talent question. And these people are purely cynical. They don't care about anything. So it's just obvious that they don't have what it takes, at least right now, from my perspective.
Indeed.
Yeah. Hey, if you like that video, hit the like button or leave a comment below. It really helps get the show to more people.
And if you'd like to get the full show ad-free and in your inbox every morning, you can sign up at breakingpoints.com.
That's right. Get the full show, help support the future of independent media at breakingpoints.com.